The CGA Tour, a podcast unlike any other. Now your host, Calvin Alexander.
Welcome back to yet another episode of the CGA Tour Podcast. As always here, I'm your host with the most, Calvin Glen Alexander, host of the CGA Tour Podcast. And if you're not following the Big 12 Huddle on YouTube, really just on YouTube, and it's also on this feed, same CGA Tour Podcast feed, wherever you get podcasts, please do go subscribe on YouTube, Big 12 Huddle, and subscribe on YouTube, the CGA Tour. But tonight I'm joined by good friend, colleague, fellow OSU fan, fellow Oklahoma State Athletics employee at one point, fellow Oklahoma City Thunder employee at one point, all-around good man, and fellow Hoops star, as we played recreational basketball league together and got a solid one win on the season.
Just one.
Ben Stockton. Ben, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Happy to be here.
You know, a lot of people were saying you chose the number 8 for the recreational basketball team for Alex Abrinas. And I said, yeah. I said, you're such a big fan of his birthday, August 1st, 1993. You were like, hey, you know what? I'm just really overall supporting Calvin in the background here because my birthday was the same as Alex Abrinas is what I'm getting at here.
For sure.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Abrinas, 31, playing in the Olympics. Ben Stockton, really just supporting the man, myth, the legend, the beard himself. Alex Abrinas and his number 8.
And his number 8.
I would say your 3-pointers, they were dialed in this year. They're dialed in.
I don't know. I thought I did not shoot well at all, but glad to hear.
When I say we got one win on the season, I don't think people are going, "Oh, they were lighting it up."
Yeah.
I do think the sarcasm. I think the sarcasm carries through. Maybe if you're not watching on YouTube, you have no idea, but hopefully the sarcasm carries through without. I had a lefty shot one or two times I went in, and my game performed just about as well as I sound right now. So we'll put it that way, and I'll stop mumbling over every word.
Yeah, it was very much, guys. I mean, we were hype. We were hype every night. We were ready. And
we were passionate. We were passionately winning or losing, but we were passionate either way.
Yeah. Full eyes, full hearts.
Clear eyes, full hearts.
Clear eyes. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Clear eyes, full hearts. I've never seen Friday Night Lights. I'm so sorry.
Just gonna move past it.
We're gonna.
Sorry, it's all good. It's all good.
Going.
Tim Riggins and my whole family. Yeah, Coach Taylor. It's fine. We're just gonna go.
Maybe that's the show for this fall.
It's a great fall show because it gets you in the football mood.
That's fair.
I don't want to ruin anything for you, but great fall show.
Yeah.
With that being said, here, Ben, we do want to talk some football here tonight. Talk a little basketball as well too. Mostly cover Oklahoma State and Oklahoma State athletics. But basically, I had 5 questions for you here, and I'm not going to say all 5 right off the bat, but I'm just going to ask you the first question here overall.
Okay.
The AP poll, Associated Press poll, came out today for college football, and there's just one issue I have. OU, the team that left for the tougher conference, and has a freshman quarterback, freshman-ish, because he played last year like a couple games, but freshman-ish,
right? Quarterback
that is in a tougher conference with tougher opponents is ranked higher than our Oklahoma State Cowboys, who were coming off of a Big 12 conference game, which we lost, but we granted beat an SEC team in the bowl game in A&M, and we finished the season with double-digit wins. OU is not in the same boat, and they played in a tougher conference. Can you explain to me why you think OU is ranked higher in the AP poll? Is there an answer to this question?
Truthfully, I think it's just, it's all in the brand. It's all in the brand. I think, and I don't want to say rightfully so, but in some ways, rightfully so. I think OU is a bigger name. They're a bigger name to the media. They're a bigger name to the AP, usually, in terms of rankings. And I feel like every preseason, for the most part, they are, if not about even, they are usually a little bit overrated. And I think sometimes Oklahoma State could be said the same, but this year I think Oklahoma State is in a good spot, and I think OU should be a little bit deeper, closer to that 25 mark.
So I guess to follow up on it too, here'd be the thing I would tell people about the Oklahoma State season. Here's what you should expect out of this Oklahoma State football team: expect to be top 3 in the conference when everything ends, have double-digit wins. I think that's an easy projection. We're favored to have double-digit wins this season.
Yeah.
We have one of our 2 toughest games is at home against one of our 2 conference opponents in Utah, K-State. We got Got the Utes at home, thank goodness, right? And we have a dark horse, granted, very dark horse, because I know odds makers would just kill me over this because it's now a quarterback award. But dark horse Heisman Trophy guy, candidate Ollie Gordon, who's Doak Walker Award winner. That's the best running back in college football, for those who don't know. And he's also nominated to possibly win it again this year. He's on like the watch list or whatever it is. We've got a quarterback who's back for his 7th season of college football, so one would think that he has the experience. We have 2 guys who are on the Blitnikoff Award watch list in Rashad Owens and Brennan Presley. We have a defense that is headlined by 2 guys who in College Football 25 are ranked 85 or higher in Colin Oliver and Nick Martin. We also have Kendall Daniels, a 5-star safety who's transitioning to linebacker. And yet, after all of that, we're still not going to be better than OU. Or we're still not better than OU today. When again, that team lost their bowl game to Arizona.
That's true.
Which Arizona might be good, might be bad. Who knows? But currently they're ranked 21 in the country. So I just don't, unless it is brand, I'm clueless. So it's back to your point. If it's not brand, I'm stupid.
What?
That's what I want to say.
And there's not. I was looking at the AP. I switched over to it. There's not another Big 12 team above OSU. Oh, Utah.
Utah is. But
Utah 12. Dang. But I guess still, I mean, that's 2, 3, gosh. Yeah, 6 SEC schools above OU. No, 7, 8. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna rank 9 SEC teams in the top 16. That might be the problem there. It's not OU, it's just the SEC.
Well,
and I'll be a SEC hater all day.
Well, I'll hate on the SEC, and I think there's some room to always hate on the SEC and then the whole conference here. But they're gonna have their decade of dominance, ESPN special, I think this week at some point. I think it's tomorrow night. Recording this on Monday night, August 12th, which I saw it advertised on ESPN like 30 times today, which just great job, ESPN, really pumping out your narrative there. What I love is that there was a graphic of them like showcasing this special, and then they had also the amount of titles that have been won by other conference winners as well too in recent eras. And so for the SEC, they wrote in the bottom right, Southeastern Conference. Big Ten, they had still the graphic, right? You know, like the B and then the 1-O, but kind of the 0 looks like a G, you know, kind of being funny, right? Or Q, whatever you want to say. Bottom right, Big Ten Conference. Then they just have the Big 12 logo, which if I'm just looking at it, hardest to tell what that is. I have all the logos. There's one that says ACC. There's one that says B and a 1 and a G. And then there's one that says SEC. But the Big 12, don't have any idea. And ACC, no idea either. Both the Big 12 and the ACC have contract deals with ESPN. The Big 10 does not, and the SEC, of course, does. So it's just an interesting tidbit here to say.
Yeah.
That I just don't get it. I just don't understand it. OU lost to Arizona. I've been talking to an OU fan, my good buddy Walter, this past weekend. It was his birthday, and I was talking to him about it, and I was like, yeah, man, you know, how's OU going to do this season? I feel like you're pretty level-headed. He's a pretty level-headed OU fan. And he told me this narrative about how that Arizona barely beat OU, and they were up against, OU was up against Arizona heading into the fourth quarter, all that type of stuff. He probably is right with all those facts, but that is selling a story because the end score was 38-24 Arizona. And it does not go as you would hope if you're an OU fan. There were 6 turnovers in the game.
That's actually a very fair point.
Like, if I'm selling you on the Oklahoma State season, I will sell you all the stats that I just gave you about Oklahoma State. The Blitnikoff, Doak Walker Award, 7-year QB, All-Stars on defense, etc. Like, I'll keep going. You know, Gundy entering his 20th season. I mean, I can just keep rattling off, right? Mm-hmm. But if I'm not trying to sell you on the Oklahoma State season, here's what I would say. They face tougher non-conference opponents. One is an SEC team in Arkansas. The other 2 teams are not easy. They're not rollovers, but one's an FCS championship winner. And Oklahoma State doesn't get out to a good start in most seasons. It's really confident, dominating start. where we just win every non-conference game ever known to man before the season starts. Now, sometimes we do, but we just don't look great doing it. Then they play Utah and K-State to open up the season, and they've got a quarterback who could get injured, and then that could derail the whole season. That's if I'm not saying Oklahoma State. But if I still am going, I just don't know how Oklahoma State does it. I still think if I'm going, hey, Alan Bowman gets dinged up, O-line gets dinged up, Ollie Gordon gets dinged up, wide receivers don't look great. Still, we're sky high on our backup quarterback in Zane Flores or Malachi, whoever wins. Out that role, I think it'll be Zane Flores, so coming out of camp. And we've got a decent defense. We've got an experienced head coach, and we play in the Big 12. Like, I still would go, you know what? I see 6 wins. Whereas if OU season goes to crap, I don't see 6 wins.
Yeah.
Their worst case scenario is Jackson Arnold is just not that good or has an injury, and their defense just isn't as good as what we thought it was. And then I'm going, so if I'm just going worst case scenario for both teams, it's like, okay, well, there's a floor and then there's a real bottom floor.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, because SEC is tough. I mean, I don't get
I know.
Either the SEC is easy or it's tough. And you would figure that the Big 12 team coming off a subpar season in the Big 12 going to the SEC. I mean, subpar for them is not winning the conference, scoring the conference title game. I don't think I'm giving OU a hard time.
Yeah.
If you're an OU fan, are you not just absolutely going, what the heck happened? Our quarterback, Dylan Gabriel, transferred to Oregon, and now people have him winning the Heisman. But no, good riddance. We're fine with it. We'd rather have him gone anyways. We want to see this Jackson Arnold kid and see what he can do.
Yeah, like that's already insane in its own.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be just doing some drugs here on that point. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
I do not get the line of thinking that goes, well, if he stays with us, we could be talking about Heisman Trophy contention with him or elite status, like elite quarterback play.
Yeah.
But if he leaves, we can see what we have behind him and kind of try to develop this team up and see maybe, because the other side of him selling it to OU fans is like, hey, Jackson Arnold, let's see what he can do this year. And then the year after this one, he could be incredible.
Right.
Right. Like I'm just going, you know what? Instead of one last year of Dylan Gabriel and kind of trying to figure out what we got and see if he plays really good in this new conference or not, then I'm going, okay, you know what? I can see the lines there, but the guy is predicted to possibly win the Heisman Trophy. If he's not the odds-on favorite, he's close to it. Now, just by transferring to a different team and conference, granted, but still.
Yeah.
I figure you want to keep that guy around. If I was an OU fan, I'd be trying to keep that guy around. That'd be just me. I don't know.
Right. Looking at their schedule again, the only thing, the other side of this that I could think is because of how hard they have of a schedule, just maybe as a preseason ranking, it's like, hey, we're going to rank it pretty high because they have a high schedule. Because especially, 4 games in Tennessee, then at Auburn, then Texas, then South Carolina, at Ole Miss, at Missouri. Gosh, yeah, then Alabama at home and at LSU. It could be. It's an incredibly challenging schedule. It is.
I don't get it. I just do not understand. This may be my point of emphasis for the entire season, but I also don't get, for example, I don't get Utah. Utah's 12th in the country. Fair. But tell me more about Utah. And I can do this with every single team. Granted, we could spend here for 5 hours and talk nonsense about AP poll and offseason rankings. But if I'm pinpointing 2 teams, it's one, of course, the in-state rival, which if you have not seen the photo behind me, check out the podcast on YouTube. But it's us winning Bedlam last year when we were not supposed to win.
Yeah.
We had at the time, 6-year quarterback coming in who was not the starter to open up the season. It was a quarterback battle in the offseason, had thrown 13 total passes in the past 4 years or so combined, being the third stringer at Michigan. Comes in and beats you in Bedlam and also jukes the shoes out of a guy in Bedlam too to say goodbye. Now, granted, though, you got our number in basketball, give it to him there. I'm not trying to make this a whole I hate OU podcast because everyone knows I don't. It just is. How are they 16th in the country? They're not.
Yeah.
The point is they're not. The point I would say is at the end of the year, if I had to put money on who would be ranked higher, OU or OSU, I would say all allegiances aside, I had to say OSU. But I also know I'm not, and maybe you're not the person to ask, but because I know where you're from too. I know how we know each other. and everything as well. But it's just, it kills me a little bit. So
I get it.
I'll leave it there. Maybe I'll just chill out a little bit. The other question, though, I have for you there is still a question about the state of Oklahoma athletics, but it's about our friends here on your baseball cap, the Oklahoma City Thunder, previous employer of both of us.
Previous employer.
And want to say they made some offseason moves here. You know, they in case you missed it, Josh Giddey got traded. Frags Caruso, straight up, no picks involved.
Straight up.
Every single Thunder fan I know goes
crazy.
Good riddance. And every single other fan I know who wants to talk about the Bulls in some good form fashion goes, about time for a change. Like, they're not excited that they lost Alex Caruso. They're like, we'll see what's new. This could be different. You know, Josh Giddey's 21.
Yeah. Yeah, he's young, and I will say there were times in the season when I was not happy with Giddey or his performance, unfortunately. But through the second half of the season, he had a new spurt. He was able to shift another gear. We saw that. He was able to kind of rotate with the team a little bit. And then in the playoffs, absolutely crushed it against New Orleans. And we can't fault him during the Mavericks because pretty much everybody was stunted except for Shea during the Mavericks, I believe. And that's a different conversation. But I do truly, I very much liked Giddey, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't a little emotional to see him go, because I believe he was a good centerpiece to the team for morale within the locker room. They looked at him as another one of the teams. And unfortunately, it is business. But yeah, excited to see his new chapter. This might be the first Bulls jersey I ever buy, which would be kind of crazy. But I don't own another Bulls jersey, and I'm like, maybe I'll buy a Giddey. Who knows? But I'm for sure into it.
You might become a Bulls fan though for Giddey in the jersey.
I think so. I mean, but no more DeRozan. They're kind of in rebuild mode. They are in rebuild mode. That's why I'm like, it's kind of exciting. They might be my new team in the East. Why not? Root for the Bulls.
Yeah, I'm no longer in any way affiliated with the Celtics after they traded away Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart. Exactly. Yeah. His name really fit the town, Boston.
Marcus
Smart. And after they traded him to the Grizzlies, they of course won the championship, which has just got to sting. So honestly, I was affiliated with the Celtics and fandom a little bit because of the Marcus Smart kind of connection. Go Pokes. But now, and also it's hard, I can't root for the Grizzlies. Like, I can't root for another Western Conference team either. I can want Marcus Smart to play really well and be good, but at the end of the day, I do see the Grizzlies as a Western Conference contender, so I can't be rooting for them.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say before we go further into this, for those listening at home, you can probably tell I'm a lot more passionate right now for the NBA than I am college football. Unfortunately, I need to catch up on my college football passion, I should say. This is the season I'm gonna jump back in. But the biggest thing is it's crazy to me because I used to be somewhat of a Celtics fan. I thought Celtics was good, and I really enjoyed them when they did get Gordon Hayward at first, because it was like, this is it. Boston may finally be one of the newer teams in the East. And then it just started to come out more of, and I'm sure you've probably seen the recent Jason Tatum stuff already, but he just gives me a bad vibe. He started giving me a bad vibe around like 2019, 2020 with the bubble. And I was just like, you know what? The Celtics aren't in anymore. And then they're pretty much a guarantee to get into the finals now. And it's like, good for you, I guess. Sure. I don't know.
It's just kind of, yeah. The Celtics, really well run organization. Not too flashy, not too much stuff to talk about. So now we're talking about how that the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and the NBA Finals MVP and Jaylen Brown. I think he was both. I could be wrong. He's just the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. But either way, what's left off the Olympics when there's three other Celtics on the Olympics? Like, okay, now let's talk about this for 5 weeks or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Cool. You know what happened? Derek White and Drew Holiday proved that they may have been the two best role players on that team. And then we're missing Jaylen Brown. If Jaylen Brown takes the Jason Tatum spot, I think it's actually a bigger issue for the Olympics because Jaylen Brown actually would have helped out a lot. He would have been the guy matching up against some of these, forwards and Yabusele for the...
Yeah.
But we could talk Olympics basketball for forever. Right. I do want to ask you about Thunder basketball here. Who starts? Who's the closing lineup here? There's 2 new guys on the team. Yeah, Thunder up for sure. I know I got a San Diego Padres hat on. They do play. They are playing right now. Actually, let's record. But I do want to say, Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Lou Dort. That's 6 names I just mentioned here. There's only 5 spots on the court to finish out a game or be in the starting lineups. When someone goes, what's the starting lineup? That to me actually is the real question is who's the closing lineup? Like who gets the opening night fandom of, hey, you're in the starting lineup? But there's no longer a Thunder team coached by Scott Brooks and has Kendrick Perkins out there for show and tell, basically just kind of being like, oh, hey, let's make sure he's, enthused and involved. So who's your starting lineup?
Let me give you 3. Let me give you starting lineup. Let me give you closing lineup. And let me give you the lineup. And I'll explain. So starting lineup, I think above all, it's Shai at the 1, of course. Absolutely given. And then the second, Chet at center. I think both those guaranteed locks. Here's where the tricky part becomes. Do you put J-Dub at the 4? I think, I don't know. The thing is, they've been talking like they want somebody at the 4. I think, for now, J-Dub goes at the 4. You continue to develop him in that role, just like they did last season. It worked it was 55 wins, so it worked. Swept the round 1. It worked. The 3 spot, I think it's crazy because it's kind of a toss-up, but I really think starting lineup is Dort at the 3, finishing out with Caruso at the 2. I think that's just your guaranteed starting 5. Caruso can kind of prove himself in the shooting guard spot, but I think he's also happy being more of a 3-and-D threat. And coming into this team, I think that's kind of where they're going to build him out more as, is like, hey, pass the ball when you don't feel confident, but if you're open, take the shot. And I think Alex Caruso is going to unbelievably excel in that role, and his defense is going to crush it too. And I think Dort, again, is going to excel. He's only gotten better. He's only going to get better. So that's the starting lineup. Closing lineup, I think, might actually consist of Shai, probably Case and Wallace, with maybe Dort, maybe Caruso, and then J-Dub, and maybe Chet, maybe Hartenstein. I don't know, or Hartenstein. I think the closing lineup's a little bit more mysterious because of the fact that I guess the closing lineup probably depends more on the game. But I would say above all, the ideal lineup that I'm most excited for, because they got to play it. Is Shai at the 1, Dort at the 2, J-Dub at the 3, Hartenstein at the 4, and Chet at the 5. Because I think that's just big man. Hey, you got 3 guys who are running around the court like crazy, and you got 2 very large men in the front court or the back court dominating. Front court? Front court.
Yeah, front court, I think. Yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah.
Season's been over for a month, and I don't even remember what the front court is. I'm sorry.
2 months. You're good. I mean, it was June. The season ended in June. Yeah, you're good. I mean, you got some distance here. I have several questions. The main one is, how do we only have 6'5", 6'6" guys on the team? That's just the only heights we have. Shai 6'6", Alex Caruso is 6'5", J-Dub 6'5", Lou Dort is this is weird. I wanted to check 2 different websites. Lou Dort is 6'3" on Basketball Reference and 6'4" on ESPN.com. And I think the Thunder roster, the Thunder guide book, which I wish I had a guide. I wish I had one with me. I think it says that Lou Dort's 6'5". So something's going on. I don't know. There's some mysterious things happening here. With that being said. And then, of course, you have Hartenstein, who's 7 feet tall. And then, Chet, who's 7'1". So the tallest guy on our team is also the thinnest guy. But what I guess what I'm really interested here is what does Dagnall really want this lineup to be? Does he want us to be really fast? Because I think really fast does not mean Hartenstein's included. And I think really defensively does mean Hartenstein's included. And that's basically the switch there. And then you're kind of mixing and matching guys in from there. I do like the Case and Wallace bit. I can't forget about how well he played in the playoffs. I do think that makes Dort a little bit expendable at the deadline, actually.
So that's
because Kaysen played so good down the stretch.
Dude, that is the biggest thing. In this house, my wife and I, Emily, we stand Lou Dort. We are very big Lou the Beast Dort fans. But I'm not going to lie, when those trade rumors were flying around saying that he could be expendable because Caruso is kind of a better Lou Dort. I hate to say it, but defense, I think they're match. They are match. But I do think Caruso has the upper hand offensively, unfortunately, which makes me more excited to see how explosive J-Dub and Shea can be with kind of that shot making and the play creating. But I don't know. That's a good question, actually, because I was reading quite a bit and trying to learn quite a bit about what Presti is trying to build and really listening in to more of the reporters and stuff like that and his answers. And he has said that I forget where I read this. Forgive me if I can find the article, we could tag it. Because I'm absolutely stealing what somebody else had said right now. But I had read an article talking about the 2016 playoffs. Golden State Warriors wiped the floor with us. And they had gone on to win, 3 of the next 5 championships. And they found it. They found a winning formula. So instead of... So Presti goes and takes a chance, signs Paul George, or trades for Paul George, signs Carmelo Anthony, doesn't work out. Okay, let's just blow it all up, make a new center point, develop the crap out of this team and the young people, and eventually we'll find success. But how do we do that? And he started to find all of these players that have a very, very high and effective basketball IQ. They know when to pass the ball and when to hold it and try to score. They're somewhat offensive powerhouses that can, or not powerhouses, but powder kegs that can, any one of them can almost light it up or shoot off on a hot streak. And then the other side of that is they have a good defensive mentality. Some are more intense and better, but almost all of them have a good baseline for defensive mentality, just like the Golden State Warriors did. And that's the thing is you can see it in a lot of these teams that it's starting to switch. It's like this past season, 10 of the highest paid NBA teams on salaries, only 3 of them made it to only 3 of them made it to the playoffs. Only 2 of them made it to conference finals. And then only 1 made it to the finals in the Celtics. And the top 5, I think only 1, and it was the Celtics. The other 4 was Golden State, who didn't even make it to the playoffs, the Suns, who didn't make it out of round 1, the Lakers, who didn't make it out of round 1, and I forgot maybe the Heat. I don't remember the 5th one. But all this to say, it makes sense because it's a young team in what some consider really this was kind of the first year because, let's call it the first year. Let's say it's the first year that they were trying this experiment because you have a fully healthy Chet, you have fully healthy Giddey, fully healthy J-Dub, fully healthy Shea. For the most part, they were healthy all season, and Dort. And that's why we didn't really see any trades during the season. I mean, I know we saw the Hayward thing, but that was hey, we can lose some expendable pieces that aren't fitting with the system. They weren't. Hate to see Micic, Poku, and Trey Mann leave. Love all three of them. Great aura guys, but it wasn't fitting. Trey Mann would have never gotten the minutes. And then we got Hayward, which is just another story, and that's just another tangent and rant for me to go off on, Calvin. But
well, I mean, I do see what you mean though, because the whole Thunder idea needed to change. Like the idea of, okay, let's bring in 3 young stars, like let's bring as many young stars as we can, and as many young stars that can play together needed to change. Because honestly, when you go back and like look at all the Thunder seasons from the first year of Durant till the last year of Durant, the healthy Thunder seasons were finals and then 2 Western Conference finals. And that's it. Those are the 3 seasons. And Durant, I believe, was with the team for 10 years total. 9 years total, if I remember correctly, including the Sonics year that he got drafted in his rookie season. So, okay, 3 out of 9. All right, well, you had a 33% chance, and 1 year you made it to the finals, and the other 2 years you made it. You're the 4th best team in the NBA overall. Yeah. Right? But now, from what you're saying, okay, you know what? Let's redo this. Let's look back at the drawing board and see what we can do. Let's get a bunch of guys who just, when the ball's in their hand, it's not an L. Like, you're not going to have, no offense to any one player I might name here, but no one is taking any offense to this at this point. They know who they are. Kendrick Perkins, you're just taking up space on the floor. You're like, yeah, you're the Pau Gasol / Andrew Bynum stopper when and if we had played the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, which just never, the Lakers never made it back. They never made it back to that spot. Yeah. Both those guys flamed out. I mean, really, Bynum flamed out. Gasol was still pretty darn good till the end of his career. But, you know, it just didn't work out that way. Like, the map didn't show itself. So instead of playing, hey, if we have Serge Ibaka, Kevin Durant, and Russell Westbrook, who can beat us? Well, Kendrick Perkins can if he's just on the court there too. You know. Yeah. I will say also with the cap space here, we've got Golden State. They had the most amount of cap spending last year, and then the Clippers, then Phoenix Suns, then the Celtics, then the Milwaukee Bucks.
Gosh, I forgot about the Bucks. That's what it was. That was the team that I was forgetting.
Hey, come here. Yeah, and, you know, of course, they fire their coach, you know, during the season, replace him with another guy, and now the one thing I will say about NBA contracts and everything is that, yes, all NBA salaries are guaranteed somewhat. There can always be some stipulations, and it's not like NFL contracts that can be much more convoluted and hard to figure out. But for the NBA salary cap tracker for this season, the most amount of cap space is being spent by the Phoenix Suns, then Minnesota, then Boston, then Milwaukee, then the Lakers. And you've got teams here who cap space is just, I mean, we're talking about the Phoenix Suns who are negative $98 million in the cap. And $96 million projected practical cap space too.
And for those curious, I think the Thunder spent 130 total this past season. They're 98 million in the hole, and the Thunder only spent 130.
It's wild how little the Thunder. So from the same website, yeah, the Thunder spent 127 million, 127.6. Yeah, because I shouldn't just be rounding off 127. It's not a small enough figure to only round. I just think it's crazy here how you have some teams like Detroit. You know what? Props to them. Detroit and San Antonio, 2 worst teams in the league. Also, least amount of money being spent last year. Both under $100 million. Right now, of course, Detroit spent one heck of a pretty penny on Monty Williams to be the head coach there. Made him the highest paid NBA coach ever, but still.
And Cade just got that new extension.
Cade just got the new contract. So this could just be for just last year, and so it hasn't updated, you know, to what it would be. But like this says the Thunder were, this also says the Thunder were 40 and 40. Oh no, excuse me. That was the yeah, that was the there's something weird about this website. Hang on a second here. I will say this. Well, before I figure out how this exact website works, I'm sorry about that for being this live. But Miami is just, what are they going to do about Jimmy Butler? What are they going to do?
They're not it.
I don't understand it. I don't understand Miami as a team, but I do see them as a possible Lou Dort candidate trade team. Just because Lou Dort would fit in so well with that team, And it does seem like we just have one guy who's expendable right now. It seemed like Cason Wallace was the backup point guard. He'd be like Cason Wallace, backup point guard. And perfect role, but he's actually backup point guard and better on defense.
Right.
Than Lou Dort was the first year we had Lou Dort, of course.
Yeah. And Cason's only going to get better. He was a rookie. He should only get better. And he's $15 million less than Lou Dort costs.
It's just kind of wild.
And you know what? You know what sucks, Calvin? Bam Adebayo?
No, you got it right the first time, I think,
Adebayo might be fantastic at the 4 spot with J-Dub at the 3 and Chet at the 5. And then you bring off Wallace and Hartenstein as the 6 and 7 guys. It's game over. We're winning 70 games. We're winning a championship. It's game over.
There's just one issue with that. There's no way the Heat ever do that.
Yeah.
Unless there's just a sort of amount of picks in there or something.
He will probably be, unless he's unhappy, he will probably be the face of the Miami Heat for a while.
Yeah. Yeah, he probably will be. I mean, he played decently enough in the Olympics to, put that name out there for himself. I'd ask you this though. As a Thunder fan, do you like it when we play this kind of brand of basketball? Because it doesn't give me jump shooting teams don't succeed normally in the NBA. You have to be such a good jump shooting team, right? And I think any team where Chet is the 5, he's the 5, because that to me means Hartenstein's just not on the court. Because if Hartenstein's on the court, he's the 5, right? And then Chet's kind of playing power, the 4. Which is fine to me. Well, but I don't think that's the team that Dagnall can loves playing, and that to me is also a jump shooting team. Like we saw it in the Mavs, we saw it against the Mavs in the playoffs, right? Like, can Chet lure their 2 bigs out of the paint? Nope. And then on defense, can their guys hit threes they just weren't normally hitting, and of course not hitting the finals? Yep. All right, well that was the whole deal. Like that was it. It was just math at that point, which is just kind of. And
if I hate to even say this, but if Chet, I don't want to say if Chet was willing to go to the 4, but I think that's the beauty of having Hartenstein come off the bench is. At the end of the day, last season, Thunder still won 55 regular season games with Chet playing at the 5, with Chet starting at the 5. It's still 55 games that whether he got beat down or not, the Thunder made it happen and they won. It was only until the Mavericks where Lively and Daniel Gafford and Derrick Jones Jr. were beaten down on him. And I believe you can either ask Chet, hey, we're going to play you at the 4. And I wish, because we've seen it, he's been working out with Kevin Durant. He moves like Kevin Durant. If he opened up his play more and was like, I'm going to be a power forward. I'm going to be a 7-foot power forward. I think he could be the next Kevin Durant. But I don't think he's actually going to, I don't want to say reach that level, but there's a part of me that I'm like, he's not going to reach that level. I just, in like offensively and being hey, I can be a captain alongside and I can dish the ball out and I can hit threes and score 35. Like there's a reason why Kevin Durant's a top 25 player, maybe of all time. It's because he's incredible. He's a Slim Reaper, but we'll see. But then the other side of that is if you look at Chet and you're like, hey, we want you to beat down on the bench unit. And during somebody like the Mavericks, you say, hey, this isn't working out. Why don't we try to make you, or why don't we take you off the bench, put Hartenstein in at the 5 starting, and let's just rain down and see what happens. And part of me, I'm excited because I'm like, maybe that's a future that we look at, is that Hartenstein's like, yeah, I'm willing to step up and do it, and Chet's willing to step down. But that's only in a case like the Mavericks, because other than that, I feel like it's pretty much guaranteed that Chet's the starting 5 almost every game.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of as you're getting at, situational based stuff. There's not like a clear-cut answer to this stuff, unfortunately, as much as all of us fans would really love for there to be a clear-cut, like, oh, hey, this is going to be the starting lineup, this is going to be the closing lineup, this is going to be, et cetera, this makes more sense. But I think it's good just to have multiple options, as we've seen. The Mavericks were able to do that stuff differently. Like, they made the trades for Gafford, they drafted Lively, and they made the changes down the stretch to go, okay, let's always have a big 7-foot guy who can speed up, shut down low, body size wise, to win. Yeah. And then now the Thunder go, okay, well, when that happens, or when we play Jokic, or when we play Embiid, or when we play Anthony Davis and LeBron, or when we do play these teams, now, number one overall in the West, 155 plus games. A lot of it goes, well, it's not broken. But then, then all of a sudden you go, okay, but who are the teams you could be facing up against, right? Like not one team. Like I don't think this was just to be the Mavericks. I think this was, what about the Timberwolves? Naz Reid, Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, Lakers, then Nuggets, Jokic, and Aaron Gordon. I think this was just like a, hey, there's not gonna be a one size fits all cure all. So why don't we just get we're good on offense. Like the offensive scheme, getting out and run, shooting, playing fast, all type of stuff, that works. There's no right. But we got beat up defensively, got beat up on the rebound side, all type of stuff. Well, now we just kind of carried that with Hartenstein, at least on the rebounds and defense, and then the defensive stuff, Hartenstein and Caruso. Like Lou Dort was just shooting a career high percentage from three. So if someone goes and tells me going to the playoffs last year, hey, you got the number one overall team in basketball offensively. They're hitting the most amount of threes in the season. Career highs for most guys. When do you want it to not keep going? I'd go, well, I'd want at some point to be a dip during the regular season and then it come back up. And it just seemed like, oh, maybe there will never be a dip. And then, Lou Dort just couldn't hit threes and Chet couldn't hit threes. And then that was kind of the season, honestly. Like, not to put it too simply, because of course it never is, but that was kind of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Well, let me ask you though. Get on to question 3 here, and maybe we'll spend a little bit less time on each question now. Thunder tangents are so much fun though. Brings back to the good old Bethlehem Brother days. I also want to ask, of course, your Oklahoma State fandom in football this year. What do you realistically expect this team to do? How do you expect us to be as a team this year?
Truthfully, I feel like I don't know enough yet to be like, oh yeah, I really see us accurately being 9 wins or whatever. But the minute I heard OU was leaving, it's in my mind, the first thought I have is okay, well, we're pretty much guaranteed to be at least fighting for Big 12 championship, because usually it's us, OU, and another team. Sometimes it's Baylor, sometimes it's Texas, sometimes it's Texas Tech. Rarely is it Texas Tech, but you know what I mean. And to that extent, I just think, I see OSU almost always being in the Big 12 championship. I just think it's a lock, and I see them finishing in the top 3 for the conference for sure. Probably 10 plus wins. I don't know. Maybe that's a bit much, but
no, I don't know. My face is intrigue you though. The hardest thing I think to do as a sports fan is to accurately predict your favorite team's season, and make no ifs, ands, buts about it. If I'm choosing one team to win it all, just win it all, which would I be the happiest in my mind's eye? It'd be Oklahoma State football. Oklahoma State football is how I got into sports, is why I love sports, is why I went to OSU. It is some of the best moments I have just growing up is watching Oklahoma State football with my dad on the sidelines, playing catch in the parking lot before games with my brother, or just, just watching games on the couch, going to games, going to PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. I can just keep going off on, going to see Oregon State, watching a game and watching the Boise State game with my dad and youngest brother Luke in my apartment before we went to the Dallas Cowboys Chargers game the next day or day after. I forget exactly. I think next day when I was working for the Chargers there. So like Oklahoma State fandom is just like where I'm at. So that's why I want to ask is because like it's the hardest thing to predict, hardest thing to accurately say, hey, let me give a fair representation to what the season is.
Right. And
when I go, okay, what could our downfalls be? Second-year defensive coordinator, maybe everyone's got the book on the defense. Maybe everyone knows how to play against this Brandon Ardo 3-3-5 defense. That's a possibility. Like, I'm not going to rule it out. You know, maybe there's enough tape out there now where it's like, okay, we figured it out and we can figure out how to beat it. But then again, I go, and we still got really good play. You know, I battle with that being even plausible. But that, I guess it's theoretical. Quarterback being slower than molasses. You and I both played college football 25. We know Alan Bowman is he is a pocket passing quarterback. He is not anything but a pocket passing quarterback. He is probably got the same 40 time as Brandon Whedon. Those guys are both stable quarterback pocket passers. You know,
he's not going to be our hot shot scrambler. He's rushing. No, I don't see it.
His career highlight is that juke against OU. I think to almost get a touchdown in Bedlam last year, but that's gonna kind of be it. You know, I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong here, but you figure the older he gets, the more accurate he gets, not the more mobile or nimble he gets. You know,
and I genuinely hope Ollie Gordon is able to just knock the socks off. You know, so I hope he has 300 yards a game.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess let me ask a different question here. If Oklahoma State wins anything less than 10 games, I mean, they play 12 games, right? So if we at least win 10 games, only lose 2, are you like, heck, that's awesome, right? Like only lost 2, you know, and I don't even know who the 2 would be against, but it could be any 2 teams, you know, because last year, the team was 2-2. And Sky's Falling, Fire Gundy. And the end of the season was to be 10-4. So, and we also lost to UCF by 42 at UCF, which I kind of just completely black out on sometimes. You know
I am, unfortunately, one of the bandwagoners at the minute that it's like, let's fire Gundy. I jump onto that bandwagon every year. Which I don't know. I actually was going to say that as I've come to understand and come to realize that I really think a lot of the success that Oklahoma State football has does result back to Gundy, because Gundy, he knows how to coach football. I think the thing is though, I'm just like, does he have that thing to help push us all the way up, all the way to where we need to get to? We've been there before, but we've never been all the way to the top. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Well, one, I need to go back here. Bowman did run it in for a touchdown against OU, so just want to make sure I'm clear on that. Get more accurate. I'm just nervous. Like, this is like the time to be nervous. This is the time to be cautiously optimistic for Oklahoma State football. Season hasn't started yet. It just seems too good to be true. A lot of things set up kind of like this where I go, okay, but like, what else is there? What is somebody not telling me? And what I'd come back on repeatedly is, I get it. We're not the same brand name as OU. I wish we were, but we're not. I get it. We're not the same brand name as other SEC schools, you know, whatever, right? But like, why are we not going to win the Big 12? Why are we not ranked top 15 in the country, top 10? Yeah. Why are we not ranked better than Utah? What is Utah? Utah's 12th in the AP poll. We're 17th. I don't want to make a big deal about nothing, but like, it's 5 spots. I mean, you know, it's not absolutely nothing. The 12 teams keep going. And like, I could just name all the stuff that I'm like, well, hang on a second. Does no one realize last year we were in the Big 12 championship and we've got, you know what I mean? Like, I can just keep going off all this stuff. Gundy's 20th season. Just what am I missing? Right? Like, I feel like I'm missing just like, oh, duh. But there's nothing that comes to mind like that, except for it's the unknown. It's your team is, your O-line is average age is, and this is when the Thunder won the playoffs last year, is older than Thunder's average age. Like that's a crazy stat. Our offensive line is on average older than the Thunder's starting lineup, or maybe even whole team as was last year. I think it was just starting lineup. Yeah, I mean, it's just, what am I missing? That's what I want to know.
I know. That's what I'm looking. I mean, Utah. The good news is we play Utah at home. But you're right. At Kansas State, it's gonna be a tough one.
When I see KU's schedule, and I'm like, all right, you know what? You guys don't really, you play K-State and think that's it. Yeah, all right. Like, I can see KU having better odds, but then when it comes to rankings, that's where I'm like caught between. But I'll also ask you here question 4, right? Because you touched on Ollie Gordon. Is Ollie Gordon like incredible? Is he overrated in College Football 25? Is he just like, I have played with him in College Football 25, and basically, unless I'm on like Heisman mode, which is the toughest mode in the video game, it's kind of unstoppable. It's kind of like, all right, you know what? If I hand it off to him 50 times a game, I'm just going to win the game. Like, it does. Yeah. It is a cheat code.
I made a my player, a quarterback, and we went. I think it was 15. Yeah, I think it was 15-0. 15-0 won the national championship, and Ollie Gordon won Heisman that season. Yeah, dude, he's good. I would just hand him the ball and he would run it in. Literally, we would be on like the 30-yard line, and I would just hand it to him, and he would find a hole and would just run it all the way down the field. I don't think he's overrated. Love the guy. Hope he can do the exact same thing this season.
Yeah.
Call me crazy.
Yeah, I mean, just, I don't think he'll win the Heisman, because I do think it's now a quarterback award, as Carson Cunningham's put it several times. And he's right, by the way. You just go back, you're like, oh my gosh, like the past 3 Heisman Trophy winners, the last one to win it, that was a running back, Derrick Henry, 2015. I had this on an earlier episode of the podcast. I think it was the last one I put out, but it's just wild there, right? Like, just, okay, what's going on? And then before then, it's like Mark Ingram, and before then it's Reggie Bush, I want to say. So that's how far, the last 3 Heisman Trophy running backs to win it. That's who we got. And besides that, it's basically, I think, Devontae Smith and then quarterbacks. So it's a quarterback award now. And I don't think there's an insane chance that he wins the Heisman, but I will be dumbfounded if Ollie Gordon is not like the main story of this season, one way or the other. If it's like, well, you know what? We just figured out that Alan Bowman now has chemistry with Brendan Presley and Rashad Owens, and Ollie Gordon's supplementary piece. Awesome. Or like he got injured, but like he will be the story of the season. I don't think it'll be, his backup Trent is insanely good. The transfer in there from Indiana, like big dude, 245 plus pounds, not built like Ollie in the freight train aspect. Ollie Gordon can slip a tackle or two. This guy, from my understanding, and from any practice footage to see, it's going to run through a pad and going to run through you too. It just is. It's great. No issues at all with Ollie Gordon. Yeah, I'm just cautiously optimistic there with him too.
Cautiously optimistic is a good word.
Yeah, that might be the name of the podcast here. We'll see. I also want to end it out with asking you question 5 here, which is both of us have graduated 5+ years ago now, and my fandom has definitely changed for Oklahoma State athletics and the university. I want to ask you first here, how has your fandom changed?
Mine, it's kind of as I hit earlier in the episode. I have stopped, which is a bummer, honestly. I really just kind of stopped watching college football. I stopped my senior year because I worked most of my senior year and just always missed. I was working on a lot of Saturdays, missed college football. And I wasn't there. I didn't have season tickets and stuff. And it was the first season in what felt like 10 years that I didn't go to a single game. It was wild. And then the next year I was in Atlanta, and same thing there, which is funny because I did go to a college football game, but it was Georgia, and which was unreal. But then past that, I kind of just fell out of college football. Really just kind of started focusing on other things like job and got married and stuff like that. And like this past year, I have officially turned Emily, my wife, into a Thunder fanatic, which is amazing. But I did get NCAA college football, and I've been playing the crap out of it. So again, my college football it's rising a little bit. But in terms of everything else, still a very proud alumni of Oklahoma State for sure. I am excited for this upcoming season, just in terms of athletics. First time, not that, but first year, as I should say, first year head coach for wrestling, new wrestling captain, which I'm excited for. New wrestling team, which could be exciting. And then past that, I still need to get up and check out the new baseball stadium. I haven't been there, but I've heard it's incredibly nice. And yeah, I would say that I've fallen out a little bit, unfortunately, in terms of the athletic fandom, but I'm hoping that this year's a different year, that I turn it around, I jump straight back into it and hit them hard.
Well, as your passion for, like, would you say you're any less of an Oklahoma State fan overall, or you just haven't had the time and energy necessarily?
I would say haven't had the time and energy. Definitely still an OSU fan. I will say this. Now, I'm not as much as a diehard, like in college, I absolutely would call OU fans out and be like, no, like, this is how our season was. But exactly like that, where I'm like, I'll hate on the SEC all day, because the SEC is 2 thumbs down, 2 thumbs. But OU, I'm kind of like, whatever. They're here. They're in the state.
They're a lot of debt. They can't get their new stadium entertainment thing built. They're in a war with their own city over it because they want to close Stride 35, and the city goes, no one will be at it. So, I mean, yeah, it's just kind of a big tax bill incentive thing going on with the city of Norman County, et cetera. It's just funny.
That in the growing, like, maturing and growing up as an adult is realizing that the tailgating capital of Oklahoma is in Stillwater, Oklahoma, every Saturday that there's an OSU home game, and that OU literally, like, it's nothing tailgating wise in Norman. I'm just saying. We worked the OU Texas Tech game, and we know from being attendees of the whole spectacle, inside and outside, being there 10 hours before kickoff when Baker Mayfield plays his final game against his former team, and the whole, whatever, right? And we can just go, yeah, it's not the same as Stillwater. We were in Stillwater earlier that day. We just know it's not the same. It wasn't a game day for us, but we just knew it wasn't the same. My fandom has changed because I've become a bigger Oklahoma State fan of actually watching the games. I think when I was interning for 4 years, it was, I'm so close to this. It's almost like I'm almost too close to care. Like, if something bad happened, we lost a game. I remember when we lost the Central Michigan game, I was down for like a month. There was like a month where I was like, dude, wait, what? You gotta be kidding me. Like, this, that was rough.
We keep hearing it. Like, this keeps making news stories from, well, the refs shouldn't have called, and just all this type of stuff, and then getting questioned about it from other fans who just don't even care about Oklahoma State really at all, but just knew about it from. It just was like just such a rough deal. That the fact that I was like on the field for the game, working it and going, oh, okay, cool. We're going to pull it off. We're going to beat Central Michigan. And it was like, wait, one more untimed down. What are we doing? And then just what happens. And you're like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, of all things.
That was a rough
and then
day.
There's,
that was a rough day.
And then there's the basketball recruiting stuff. And then, with Lamont Evans. And then there's
and Brad Underwood
leaving the way he did and all type of stuff.
That was like, rough.
I went to Oklahoma State from 2012 to 2018, so it was a little bit of time. But with that being said, I now am 6 years removed from being in college for 6 years. And it's interesting to me now that, like, okay, it's now been enough amount of time where I'm like, yeah, but I really love it when we win. And when we lose, generally speaking, we lose the games we should lose. Or we lose the games that I'm like Central Florida game last year, I'm like, wait a second, what's the score? Like, I was like, okay, I'll tune in, I'll watch. And then the year before against the K-State game, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going to sit on the couch, watch, I'm not going to do anything else. And then about 15 minutes into that game, I got hit up to say, asked, hey, do you want to play some basketball? And normally I would have gone, Nah, dude, I'm watching the Oklahoma State game. I can't, hey, we're down 21-0. I'm watching the game. And so I was like, we're down 21-0. I'm going to go outside and do something. I'm not going to let this take my whole energy as a human being for the rest of this glorious Saturday in LA at the time. And I hope this year I'm kind of like, hey, you know what? Win or lose, I'll be really pissed off if we lose. We should win. Yeah. We should win most games. But if we lose a nail biter to K-State at K-State, I'm not going to go, okay, now the world is black for the rest of my month. I'll be like, all right, you know what? Hope these guys in these colored jerseys beat these guys in these colored jerseys that are all from basically the same area of the country. And that's kind of a very simplistic way to look at it. That's not the fan-centric way. But I'll be really excited and really ecstatic when we win. And I will be rushing the field like all these Oklahoma State fans did against Bedlam whenever I can and whenever it makes sense. And I will be hoot-hollering, cheering on, hoping we win the Big 12 championship, hoping that I can get tickets last minute, hoping it all works out, et cetera, this year, and host a playoff game, and et cetera, right? But if we don't, I'm not gonna let the losses or the turmoil or the issues just take over everything, because now it's not now that there's bigger things. It's now I've seen enough Oklahoma State football where I'm like, okay, 30 years, 20 years of which I can really remember. All right, you know what? What's going to happen is going to happen.
Well, and I think for me, it feels almost the same, that I don't think I'll ever have the passion that I felt in college being there, because I didn't know any of the players, but you hear about the players and you follow them on Twitter and you see their tweets and you see their Instagram and you see them around campus and whatever. And I wasn't close to any of the players, but I was close to some of the coaching staff. I was close to, we worked part of the games, and we were marketing sports interns. So we saw these athletes, and I think on some level you connect in the sense of hey, good for them. They're our age, they're out here talented as hell, doing what they need to be doing. I respected it. It was one of those things that I was like, cool. I wish in another life I was out there with them. You know what I mean? And I think that's where that adds to the passion of being I'm rooting for these people because I'm with them. They're with me going through college at the moment. They're just doing it a different way. And so I think that's the cool thing about being in college and being a fan, is because you're there and you're in it and you're connecting with them. And that's why I'm I don't know if I'll ever feel that passion again, because you're right. I think that's also why I kind of fell out, because I know some of the past few years have not been the greatest seasons of Oklahoma State football. And for the most part, I don't think they were ever bigger name seasons that was oh yeah, we're absolutely crushing it. And it was enough that unfortunately it didn't catch my attention. And then I know last year we played pretty well, but
we had last year and then we had 2021. Both the 2 of the last 3 years we won Bedlam were incredible. Big 12 championship-esque seasons, right? We made it to the championship both those years. One is a sad inning against Baylor, which just should have won. And the other one is a game where we were not going to beat Texas no matter what happened, really. We're going to the game, at least. We beat BYU into that cold, rainy, kind of awful weather game. We held on against BYU to win and beat them in overtime, et cetera, to go and pull that one out and get to the championship game. And add another loss to the record, but it does not matter. Hopefully getting there last year with this group of guys, with Ollie Gordon there and him kind of looking like a fool early on in the game, just means that this year we've got all the drive, all the passion, all the excitement of getting back to that spot and then triumph, playing Arizona, for example, or whatever. What would really annoy the crap out of me as a Oklahoma State fan is that if we, and I'll end it out with this, if we lose to Kansas State, there is a worst case scenario for Oklahoma State fans this year. If we lose, and the only loss is to K-State. K-State plays Arizona this year in a non-conference football game because they had it scheduled before the start of the season. So if we lose to K-State and K-State loses to Arizona or loses even another game, they could lose another Big 12 game, but they'll have that win against us. They could have 2 losses on the season as a team and still have theoretically the whatever the poll rating is would decide who goes, because then theoretically we both have one Big 12 loss, even though they have 2 losses overall, et cetera, et cetera. And I want to double check that I just have the right team here because I know it's not Utah because they would have, it's Arizona K-State, September 13th. So I think a lot of Oklahoma State fans will have that circled on their calendar because that's the third. It's like when we play, I forget the Oklahoma State football schedule all the way off the top of my head here. But it's the year after, it's this game after we play Arkansas. So it's going to Tulsa. Sorry, excuse me. But like we'll be, and that's a Friday game. September 13th is a Friday. So we'll be going, okay, what the heck's going on? Arizona K-State, both are currently ranked in the top 25 AP poll-wise. So it'll be exciting. But Ben, thanks so much for joining here. I love having you on the podcast. Gotta have you back on more often, man. Do you have anything you want to shout out here? Any questions you have here overall? Maybe about my byline, the last 2 words of it. I don't know.
I think Ollie Gordon is going to. I think he's going to finish 3rd in Heisman. And I think Shea is going to win MVP.
I love it. Love it overall.
You heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first.
Overall. I gotta say, also, I'm a future Olympian. In case you missed the byline here, and we're not watching this.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, host, producer, editor, YouTube. Future Olympian.
Do you want to know the Olympic sport I'm going to the Olympics in?
Yeah, I would love to hear.
Breakdancing.
Yeah,
I'm going to get my Australian citizenship and be a doctor of breakdancing by the next Olympics. I'm sure I'll be taken.
I think you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely a joke. But you know what? I think 3v3 basketball, I could learn how to shoot it underhanded. Rick Barry's son was out there just flicking it up. He had the wrist flick, the underhanded shot. Like, it was going in.
If Jimmer Fredette
is getting shoved under the basket in 3x3 basketball, and no one can explain to me why he is.
We can get out there.
He's the best. He's the best we got 3v3 basketball. I get it. There are other guys, so you can't play 5v5 and 3v3 ever. You can't do it ever currently, unless it's women's. So that's why in the predicament we are in is because currently any NBA star is like, well, hang on a second. What if they need me for? And it's like, you know what? Let's just go get Marcus Smart, John Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. Get the Memphis Grizzlies' best 3 out there. Like, they're not playing for the Olympics. Or even, I'm sorry.
Dude, put out J-Dub.
Chet.
Give Jalen Williams a shot. Give Chet a shot. Yeah. Chet will be there in 4 years anyway.
Well, but I think that's the deal, is that they don't, if you could play in the Olympics 5v5, you don't, So Jaren Jackson Jr. is like, looking at chops, he's like, LeBron going to retire, then I'm going to step in and be the next, kind of point forward there on the team or whatever, right? Like that's kind of what you're going with.
Yeah.
But I think Marcus Smart, just one more time with the Boston accent for in case anyone missed it.
Marcus Smart.
But Ben, thanks so much for again here for joining. If you're not already, follow at the CGA Tour on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube as well. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Snapchat, Instagram. Thunder up. Go Pokes. We're good at football. We're having fun. We're excited. Thanks so much for listening to the latest episode of the CGA Tour Podcast. And please leave a review, rating, like, subscribe, follow, and share where you can. And
I'll be above.
Ben, I forgot to show this earlier, but thanks. Yeah, awesome.
Oh,
yeah, we're pros here. We're pros. We got a banner at the bottom. Got a whole banner at the bottom.
Calvin's got everything. Oh. Good night, everybody.
Go Pokes!